that to gain any sort of advantage, there could be significant additional sanctions imposed. The range of sanctions by an operational rules tribunal range from a fine, but could also include a deduction of points as an extreme example. The idea that a club would deliberately pick and choose which matches to play is just not the case. There would be significant compliance sanctions if anyone tried to go down that route.
Do you think in response to this warning, that's why Cass picked a quarter of a team to play against Salford, so the game was fulfilled? But maybe that's another angle to look at whether compliance sanctions are appropriate.
I mean, it's such a difficult situation, isn't it? Especially, when you've got a cup final coming up, because, well, you want your best team, but as a player, you want to be able to play and, well, yeah, all around everyone wants the best team out there. And if, that means that maybe the week before you do put a weakened team out, they're not the first team to do that, are they? They won't be the last. And at the moment,
I don't think it's the first time Cass have done that either. I think they did it a few years ago when they were in the final too.
Yeah, and ultimately, at the moment, that's not breaking any rules at all.
I think there's always going to be suspicion when games are cancelled and stuff. I'm kind of the view that seems to be the RFL's view as well, that no club has done anything deliberately to sort of choose not to play any matches in order to gain an advantage. And I think you get that when you look at the situations, the clubs that have chosen to not play the games. Because the ones that have chosen to not play games where they couldn't have it as a official COVID postponement, Huddersfield, who have found themselves second bottom now, and Castleford, who would see themselves as a top club competing for the playoffs, and at the moment, because of things like not, cancelling games, forfeiting games, that they're not in that picture at the moment as it stands. So I don't think anyone's done it kind of to gain an advantage. Whether people have done it to not lose out even further, I'm not so sure. But look, it's nice that there's been a bit of a reminder, maybe, shall we say?
Yeah.
That it might not just be your 24-0 that you get to walk away from these occasions with.
Because actually, for some clubs, 24-0 would be, an advantage. It'd be a better points difference, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Wigan in the last few weeks.
Exactly.
So Wigan fans were saying we should just forfeit the game against Saints when that came up the other week, and we only would have been 6 points worse off.
Yeah, I mean, and like for Hull, obviously we've had 3 postponements now, and certainly 2 of them are ones you'd say we would have won. The derby, I'll accept, it's always a bit more up in the air, isn't it? And obviously with league positions at the minute, a bit closer, but playing Leigh and playing Salford, you'd like to think that they were 2 matches we should have won. And obviously now we've got to try and rearrange them at some point, which might be trickier.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shame in a way, isn't it, that the derby was the one that was prioritised for rearrangement, understandably, and then that's gone by the wayside because you could have played Leigh, couldn't you, this week instead?
Yeah, well, and actually Rovers were trying to do that, even though that's not a match that's been postponed for them.
Right, interesting.
I think they're suddenly panicking about percentages and playing enough games and things like that.
Well, they're still in the top 6 as it stands, so and in better form than some of the teams around them. Let's move on. Huddersfield have signed Leigh duo Nathan Peace and Nathaniel Petteru on season-long loan deals. Giants prop Jack Ashworth has joined the Centurions on loan for the rest of the season in exchange, but another unnamed Huddersfield has opted out of the deal, which I found quite funny when I read that detail on this. Carsten got in touch to ask whether this was cost-cutting already going on in Leigh. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like that can be the only reason why. Has someone told Beaumont that there's no relegation this year, so you can ship some players off to save money on them, or?
Well, in the recent briefings, it's been indicated that promotion and relegation is being retained, so...
Yeah, I really don't know, because you'd think that they'd, have they just resigned themselves to we're going down, so let's save our wage bill.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what sort of money Jack Ashworth might be on compared to Pete's and Petteroo. You would think he'd be on something similar to what Petteroo is, considering Ashworth had come in as a Super League winner, although there was some off the field stuff that's never really been fully fleshed out, that there was some social media reports around, so I don't know if that impacted his value or anything. Pete's was kind of felt like almost a desperate signing by the league, like they just needed someone.
Yeah.
And he was available, but it was a position they were already covered in, so maybe they've been trying to look to shift it around, but unfortunately for them, whoever else they wanted said, "No, I'm not going to play for that shite."
I'd rather stay where I am, thanks. We're heading that way. But,
imagine rather not playing than playing for Lee, although probably the reality of it would be that person who turned down move probably did have to play for Huddersfield this week, will have to play for them next week, and is more likely to win in a Huddersfield shirt than they are in a Lee shirt.
Yeah.
Let's do something about Hull FC that's actually happened.
Yeah, so winger Adam Swift has signed a new 2-year deal with Hull after an impressive 2021 season so far. He scored 13 tries and 17 appearances since joining from St Helens in 2020. Very happy with this as a re-signing. He's, obviously he was injured last year, but has looked really good this year. And I think it's a sign, I think we've mentioned before, that Hodgson definitely seems to want to go for the faster, slightly slimmer wingers rather than the prop forwards on the wing, a la Radford. So yeah, I'm pleased with that.
It makes sense that Hull will look into extending with the way he's performed this year. He's been, it's not necessarily the tries, because his try scoring record is good but not amazing. But his performances have been really consistent as well on top of that, and you can rely on him, which has been important.
And things like that.
Yeah. England fullback Sam Tomkins has activated a 1-year extension to his contract at Catalan Dragons. The 32-year-old is a key feature of the side that has won 11 games to lead the Super League campaign and captained England against the All-Stars last month. Tomkins has scored 18 tries in 51 games for the Dragons since his move to Perpignan back in 2019. Another kind of no-brainer that they would be looking to extend Sam Tomkins, given how strong he continues to perform.
Yeah, he's doing well there, isn't he, for them?
Definitely, and I guess a key part of the culture at the club as much as the performances as well. It feels like he's a leader within that side and also within the England side. So we'll, yeah.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm surprised. I thought he'd been there longer than he actually has.
Yeah,
this is his. Last year was about 4 years long, wasn't it? So
it was 2 seasons, wasn't it, last year? So, yeah. So yeah, this is only his 3rd year, but it's going well.
He is, yeah. Salford have announced that Australian prop Darcy Lussick has left the club with immediate effect. The 32-year-old joined the Red Devils prior to the season starting and made 4 appearances, as well as enjoying a short spell on loan with Championship side Featherstone. Lussick made more than 100 NRL appearances for Parramatta Eels and Manly Sea Eagles before joining Toronto Wolfpack in 2018. So yeah, good luck to him.
It was surprising when he went out on loan, wasn't it? And it's even more surprising that they've released him now. So obviously it hasn't worked out with him. He hasn't been as good a fit with the club as his brother was, and I'm sure they wish they could get that Lussick back if rather than having to have been lumbered with this one this year. It feels like.
Yeah. It's it seems an odd time, like you say, there's obviously something not working there, is there?
His performances haven't been like groundbreaking or anything, and he almost had the whole year off last year because he barely could play for Toronto even when they were. In fact, he didn't play for Toronto, did he? Even when they were playing matches at the start of the year. So, and he had a bit of a weird time the year before that as well, when he couldn't get back into the country at some point
Yeah, of course,
because of visa issues. So it feels like it's hardly properly played for nearly 2 years. I can imagine someone seeing the name thinking, oh, he's played Origin and stuff in the past, and maybe we could get him right and giving him a go. But I think it'd be a bit of a futile effort based on how it's gone in the last 6 months. But do you think this is the end for him, or do you think we'll see him pop up somewhere else?
I almost feel like he's going to go back. He's 32, isn't he? You know, is he going to go back to Australia and join one of their like second league teams, maybe?
Yeah, he's not going to attract NRL interest. The only way he might get back into the NRL is storming it up in one of the reserve grade sides.
Yeah, I just can't see it at his age, and given everything that's going on at the minute, I just think. Yeah. No.
That's him done. One story out of the championship to bring us, Sarah.
Yep. Swinton have signed Widnes winger Owen Buckley on a 2-week loan deal. Buckley has scored 10 tries in 15 appearances since making his first team debut for the Vikings in 2018. So decent try return rate, but not very many matches.
No, that's kind of been his issue, isn't it? That's so few matches in that time. Moving to France, and Toulon are set to join the Elite One Championship to take the number of clubs in France's top league to 11 from the 2021-22 season. The French Federation invited applications to expand the division earlier this year, and Toulon are currently in the midst of submitting the required paperwork to make that jump. If successful, they will join champions Lesignan, who's actually they've just lost their coach, hasn't he? He's moved over to Rugby Union.
Yeah.
Albi, Avignon, Carcassonne, Limoux, Saint-Estève, Saint-Gaudens, Palau, Toulouse, and Villeneuve in the top flight. Next season is set to begin on the 3rd of October this year, with the final round in May, at the end of May in 2022. Meanwhile, the Elite 2 Championship is expanding from 10 to 12 teams. Montpellier Sharks, who recently appointed Super League and former Great Britain standoff Leon Price as Director of Rugby, have stepped up from the National Division alongside Graton Tour. The Elite 2 season was cancelled last year due to COVID. The other 10 clubs in the division are Beho, Carpentras, I don't know how to pronounce this one at all, Entrégueux, Ile, Lescou, Lyon, Pierre, Salon, Villefranche, and Ville-Guéranc. Something like that. If Toulon's bid for the Elite One is unsuccessful, they'll be forced to drop down to the National Division, which is the 3rd tier. That seems weird.
Yeah.
That they've taken new teams into the 2nd tier, but one of the teams from there might have to drop to the 3rd tier. Anyway, the changes are part of new president Luc Lacosse's bid to professionalise and grow the French game, which has also included improvements to the national team. Of course, we talked about the plans for the Rugby League World Cup to be there in 2025 as well. So big changes going on in France. Looks like they're trying to make some progress.
Yeah, great if it works. And finally, BAFTA award-winning singer-songwriter Sabrina Washington will sing the national anthem live at Wembley on Saturday ahead of the Betfred Challenge Cup final between Castleford Tigers and St Helens. The former Mystique lead singer will also perform the time-honoured Abide With Me, a Challenge Cup final since 1929.
Yeah, Mystique. I can only think of Scandalous. It's the only Mystique song I can think that exists. But she won't be singing Mystique songs anyway, will she? So
probably not.
She
might get if she does.
But a a name that was famous 20 years ago singing at Wembley. Bit of a